Facebook does some weird stuff there. Refreshes. Setting up my webinar. And I click posts here. All right, and that should, yes, thank you, Facebook. Great, and then I keep that muted and I click this button here. Guys, thanks for bearing, okay, and I'm gonna mute that. All right, it's happening. And I can close this. You can get straight out of here. All right, well, welcome everyone. Here we are, it's Friday. We've gotten past the tech support. It's the hardest part of these conversations. It's like coaching live with a little bit of tech support. Hopefully that's helping you. If anyone is like, what is the experience? You know, a lot of people actually ask me this. Thanks, Sarah. Good morning. And morning, Christy. A lot of people, when I say like, what questions do you have for me as coach? What are the questions you have about really getting beyond self-sabotage? What's transformational leadership really look like? People are often like, man, you know, I would love to get an experience of someone trying to just work with technology and make something happen for like 2 minutes once a week. Could you do that for me? And so that's one of the things we do here on this live coaching that you won't find. I'm finding this hilarious. I imagine no one else is laughing. I don't care. This is hilarious. You're not going to find this anywhere else. There's no other live coaching show with live tea where some boob bumbles through technology to try to make a thing happen. So relish that, feast on what I'm providing. I'm punchy today. I'm having a good morning. I'm having a really good week, actually. We're going to start the end of this week with this tea. Get a bit of sunlight in there too. Look at that. Now watch this. Look at this. See that? When it goes off camera, you're not actually sure. Is he still pouring into a teacup? The answer is yes, but this is the perils of live tea pouring. Oh, what's happened to my trivet? I lost one of my little rubber legs. There we go. Okay, let's talk about the week in front of me. Tell me about your weeks too. As I'm speaking, feel free to speak over me and share how your week was. We could do that collectively. That'd be kind of weird, but this is a really neat week for me. It's neat because I think I've shared this a few times. A lot of the breakthroughs I've been up to are ones in the print on my shirt, Leanne. I believe these are hummingbirds, or no, I think they're birds of paradise because they have long tails on them. And then also, look, there's some chambray sewed into the inside of the cuff. So now you know. A lot of the breakthroughs I've been working on are breakthroughs in spirit. That's arguably been the theme for the last year, probably even longer with my coach. And so there's a number of ways that I've been practicing that. One is through 12-step recovery work. A lot of recovery work is ultimately rooted in the idea that like your addiction it's not about stopping yourself from doing the thing. That's how most people, myself included, usually relate to whatever it is that we're doing. So you could drink too much, you could overeat, you could be a gambler, a debtor, there's a million ways that we can show up as addicts. I would argue that almost all of us have some flavor of addiction. It's really like numbing, twisted in on itself and then repeated over and over and over. The idea behind most recovery work is what we're really doing that for is to fill a God-shaped hole. When we don't have some kind of access, some kind of relationship with spirit in our life, we take on these other things to try to give us an experience that's otherwise missing. And if you ever take on a practice like, I'm not going to drink, or I'm going to not smoke pot, or whatever that thing you like doing, if you take that away from you for a year, you're going to start really quickly to confront whatever it is that you're numbing yourself from. You're going to have to be with it. Anyhow, this is not a conversation about that. That's an example of one of the places I've been taking on spirit. And the challenge I'm finding with spirit is it's not giving me much of a business case. It's just giving me stuff to do. It's just speaking to me like, hey, here's what's in front of you now. Take this on. And so this week's been a cool week because I have zero idea where my next client is going to come from. And Bay and I, while we have lots of abundance, we also have a business that runs and debt and, a mortgage and bills we have to pay and all of that sort of stuff. Good morning, Amanda. And And it's all fine and good to like say, I'm going to take on the surrender experiment, or I'm going to create this, I'm just going to listen to spirit, or I'm going to gift away things for the next year. But we still like underneath that is still the world saying like, you got to pay bills, bro, do that. So it's easy to get scared. It's easy to reach for that part of me that's like, but where is the business case? Where's the next place that a client is going to come from? And my practice has been letting that go and trusting that the next client will come somewhere, somehow. And my work is to really just serve whatever is showing up in front of me. And so I've been in a lot of conversations with a lot of really cool people, some of which may be a client, some of which I'm almost certain won't be a client. And I'm practicing just releasing that so I can serve them and really make a difference in their lives if they want me to, with whatever is showing up in the moment. And it turns out that's a recipe for a pretty great week. So that's been super cool. And it's really neat because I kind of got to this end of the week and said like, okay, what am I doing next week? Oh shit, I'm flying to Cancun, Mexico. That's cool. So we've had a ton of rain up here in the Pacific Northwest, as we should. Fall is definitely here and looking very beautiful. And I kind of like those rainy days. We have a beautiful fireplace at our house, and it feels really good to get a hot cup of tea and sit and just hear the rain hammering itself against our house and be grateful that we have a warm place to sit in that rain. And then it's kind of cool. Like, wow, what a great time to go to Cancun. Thanks for the send-off, Victoria. We're heading there to train with Werner Erhard, the founder in a lot of ways of modern ontology, which is a bunch of words that probably don't feels pretty chewy in your mouth. What Werner Erhard did is kind of create, he founded EST and then Landmark Forum. So anyone that's done any kind of transformational work probably has a sense or a knowing of Landmark Forum. Werner Erhard kind of brought that to the West in a way that was palpable for the time. What I mean by that is that you could trace the lineage of transformation way, way, way back to Zen and probably yoga before that. You know, it gets a little foggy for me. But Zen can be a little obtuse for Westerners. You know, you're meditating for hours on end. You're getting hit with the Kyosaku, the stick to waken you to consciousness. And you're sitting with these challenging koans, these sort of cases that can't be solved with your default thinking. And for a lot of people, that's not super compelling. And Werner Erhard kind of took a lot of that and put it into a format that people can get over the course of 2 weekends. And that's an amazing thing, to be able to get an experience, deeper experience of your possibility, what you're capable of in your life over the course of 2 weekends. That's almost miraculous. So we're going there to train with him. He's currently like 85 or something, and every bit as powerful as he's ever been. If you watch videos of him speak, it's cool. You'll hear him slowly making his points. He's not quite as fast as he used to be, but you can just feel the depth of work behind him. So we're really excited about that. It does mean that next week we will not have any live coaching. I know, I'm sorry, I'm sad about that too. And that does mean, what I will say is I'm always looking for more people that are bold, brave, courageous, willing to come and be in the conversation with me. So if you're one of those people, if you're like, hey, I would love to be in this conversation, I would love to get supported, I would love to take something like this on, send me a message, reach out, and we go from there. Okay, I'm gonna have a sip of tea. I'm gonna look around my office to see if there's anything I need to talk about. We'll do a real quick bit of nerd chat. I've finished all of the where'd you go? All of the Arcadia Quest miniatures. So Zazu was our, what are you doing, Zazu? Get out of the sun. He was our last guy. He's now finished. Look at that guy. Man, that dude's badass. He's angry too. Yeah, you got your hitting stick. Now we've moved on to a game called Wiz War, which are not as cute. I think you can tell, like, this guy, look at that head. He's cute. He's aggressive, but kind of cute. Whereas this guy is more Gandalf-y. I wouldn't describe Gandalf as cute at any part. So that's our nerd chat. That's what we're up to. Put Zazu back there. You can look forward to seeing many more of those as time goes on. Let's talk about our special celebrity guest star today, Priyanka. I'm going to bring her on in a sec, but what I want to share about Priyanka is kind of the story by which we got to be in relationship with each other. Because for me, it really speaks to the possibility that Priyanka is, and also the letting go of knowing how we're going to get our next client, our next piece of business, our next deal, whatever it is. So there used to be a Facebook group called the Prosperous Coach. It's been shut down now. And one of the things that was amazing about the Prosperous Coach is that unlike a lot of coaching themed groups, it was not filled with people just telling you to read their blog. My new blog article, please read it. Check out this blog article. Please do my free, I promise no strings attached webinar, promise, no strings attached. Ugh, it feels weird. The Prosperous Coach had a lot of coaches that earnestly were looking for support and a lot of people that generously wanted to provide support. And that was an amazing group. I really miss it. And what started to happen is I noticed I would start writing to people and I'm like, oh, brother, this is a long answer that I'm giving them. And it's probably some of what I want to offer is a little bit poignant. And that can be, sometimes our warmth doesn't come across. The love we intend in what we're sharing doesn't always come across over text. And so I started to do live videos where I would hop on in that group and I would share someone's question and just speak directly to them. Like, hey, here's what I see for you. This is what I would do. These are the sort of things you might be cognizant of. Priyanka was one of those people. I had no idea who she was. She had no idea who I was. I just saw that she put a question in that group. And I was like, that's an amazing question. I really dig that. I'm going to answer that. And so I hopped on live. Priyanka thanked me. And that was the kind of conversation. And over the next maybe year and a half, she'd show up in my feed, maybe like something I'd written, maybe comment from time to time, but certainly nothing big. And then when we were enrolling for the intensive last year, Bay and I were reaching out to people that had some kind of interaction with us, especially for an event like the intensive. It's not like a one-on-one coaching conversation where we're going really, 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 really deep with someone before we get to a yes. It's a little higher level because it's a lower price tag, it's a lower level of commitment, and consequently, it's a lower level of commitment for both of us. And so we were reaching out to a lot of people, getting a lot of no's, getting no's from people that had been like, I'm 100% yes to this, just tell me when I am there. And then, okay, here's when it is. I really want to come, but it's actually a no. No make wrong. That's how we are as humans. It's really understandable and it's heartbreaking and it's hard to be with. It's like, but you told me yes. Anyhow, Priyanka was one of the people that I reached out to. And I thought like, hey, you've kind of shown up from time to time. We've been in a little bit of conversation. I don't think I even remembered how we had initially gotten into conversation. I don't think I remembered the video that I'd sent her. And I sent Priyanka an invitation. I said, hey, I think you would really enjoy this. Are you interested in hearing more about it? And she wrote back and said, yeah, I am. And please tell me. And so shared, this is what it looks like. It's here in Victoria. Priyanka lives all the way in India. Not a small trip by any stretch of the imagination. And she said, I just have to check with my husband to make sure that the kids will be handled and that I can take the time. And usually when people tell me I just need to check, I stand for the possibility that things are going to happen. And instead what happens is they come back and they go, it's not going to work, but I'm definitely there next time. And the time after that, I'll definitely be at that one, not this one. Instead, Priyanka came back and she said, all right, I talked to my husband. I can make it work. Let's do it. At which point I got terrified and thought, what the fuck? Does she know she has to come all the way to Victoria? And is she aware that this isn't like a Rich Littman event that I'm leading at? This is like my event that's going to be, Bay and I are doing this. It's going to be different. And like, so I wrote her back kind of checking in like, are you sure you're saying yes to us? Like, do you know? And she said, absolutely. This is, I'm not looking for a cookie cutter, another version of the same event that I've already been to. I want something different and I want to come. And so that is a measure of who Priyanka is someone who is possibility and steps into possibility and is willing to just lean in past a million. Really, you can't think of someone who would have better reasons. Like being all the way in India, you got a lot of good reasons to not come all the way here to Victoria. And that just doesn't stop Priyanka. I find her a constant source of inspiration, and I'm excited to play with her today. Priyanka, Noda, Sarah's saying she loves you. I do too, Sarah. Thanks for saying that. Really appreciate that. So Priyanka, turn that video on. Let's get you live here. Yay. There you go. Hey, Priyanka.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for the lovely introduction. It just touched me.
Cool. Yeah. That I meant every word of it. That's really, you're very inspiring to me that way.
Thank you so much.
Let's get to the important stuff. Do you have a hot beverage? I realized I didn't even ask you this.
I don't have a hot one. I just have a glass of water.
Okay. Well, that'll work, because if we don't tell anyone, they won't be able to tell. So we'll just say, guys, we're drinking a hot beverage. Let's drink a hot beverage together.
Yeah.
And even act like you've burnt yourself. That can help. Whatever. Okay. Nice temperature.
Yeah, it's pretty warm.
I like to think this is the stuff people tolerate. They're like, okay, I just got to sit through a little bit more of this, then we get to the coaching. All right. Okay. I want to share this story. I want to share one more thing about you, and then I want to jump in with you. It's the story you told me about. Hey, Maria. It's the story you told me about the best gift you've ever given. Is it all right if I share that?
Yeah.
I'm going to summarize it, because I've been talking for a while and I'm the less interesting person on this conversation now. But I ask everyone, what's the best gift that you've ever given, and what's the best gift you've gotten? And what Priyanka's answer was to this, I just love this so much, Priyanka. This is another measure of who you are. Almost 3 years back, there was this couple who had lost their 8-month-old son. I deactivated my Facebook for some reason, but that day I felt a strong urge to reactivate it. I did, and the first message I saw in the news feed was a plead from the father of this child who was requesting for help and prayers to save their child. I'd never interacted with them, but he was from the same state in India that I belong to, so I felt that at least I should give him a call. These kind of stories always move me. And then you went and called him. That's crazy. In the best kind of way. Like, a lot of coaches get stuck like, I'm scared to call people. And here you are just like, wow, I feel called. I'm going to call this person. And you went and sat with the parents. You told your husband that you wanted to visit this couple. You contacted one of your relatives who's a doctor, shared the reports. She kind of shared the bad news, like this child is ready to move on and to pass. And you went and sat with the parents and sort of supported them in coming to that decision. Do I have that right?
Yeah.
That is incredible, Priyanka. Like, that is the most amazing. There's no one that's going to be able to come. Well, it's a challenge. You've thrown the gauntlet down for the best gift to have ever given. Do you keep in touch with those people?
I should say it's a coincidence. You won't believe, after I shared the story with you, and if you see my Facebook post, the same father, he has written a post about me just 3 days back. And I was like, wow. I mean, he showed his gratitude towards me, and he's written in Assamese language, which is not in English, a native language. And I was like, is this some power which is like, pulling us towards something? So yeah, to answer your question, after that, we didn't interact much, but yes, he just wrote this post, and he did reach out to me when they had their new child, and he asked me to name the child, but then I gave them the chance to do that. I said, no, it's an honor for me, but I would want them to do it, so I give him the liberty to do that. So yeah, that way.
That's amazing. Thanks for being a gift. Like, that is so selfless and generous and kind and incredible. That sets the bar high for me. So thanks for that inspiration.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So what are we going to talk about today?
Okay. So there's a part of me which is pretty okay being with myself. Like, I'm sort of a person who loves being with myself, who is okay with just being around with me. But at the same time, there's also this part which craves for connections. And when I say connection, it is like real, deep, authentic connections. And I just oscillate between these two, right? I mean, sometimes I go this way, sometimes I'll just crave for that. And then this stands as a, whenever I have noticed in me, like whenever I tend to develop deep connection, I also back off. I don't dive in completely. And that's my challenge. And this is standing in my way of having a thriving coaching practice, because I don't reach out to people. I mean, even if I know that, okay, this is the person I would like to reach out, but I will hold on, I'll wait for the perfect moment and all of that thing. So I want to talk about that. Like, how do I maybe build deep, authentic connection? Although this is the example which you gave, wherein I just dived in. So that inspired me. Something which deeply inspires me, I would dive in. But again, I'll perform my task and I'll just move away. I just don't be in that space for long. So I just want to understand that. Like, yeah.
Okay, let me make sure I'm hearing right. So we've got you. One, you're pretty comfortable with yourself, like you're in a way okay by yourself, which is pretty cool. There's like a lot of people that wouldn't have that capacity. Two, notwithstanding that, or maybe because of that, you're starting to notice like, and I want more than being by myself. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah.
Got it. Turn the fan on already. Wow. Edgy coaching conversation. Three, you're wanting deeper connection. And then four, it sounds like you're present to a bunch of places in your life where there's an opportunity for something beyond where things are currently at. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so where should we, if we were to begin, like if we were to choose one of those places, like what's a place where we can kind of use as our, I don't know, like our laboratory, where we can focus ourselves in this area? I'd like to create some deeper connection. Where would we go?
Of course, with my clients, I mean, with the prospects, with my clients, I do have a wonderful, deep connection. And that's the reason why they're with me and I'm with them. But I would love to have that connection with the prospects or the people, my tribe that I'm reaching out to, with them.
Got it. And is it when you start to hold them as a prospect that like you pull away, or is it like just this person's one of my people and then there's distance created, or how? Tell me about that.
That's a very good question, actually. I mean, it throws some light into, if I look at them just as a human being, I would just be my natural self. But if I look them as a prospect, or like if I'm in awe of them, wow, they are someone who is like in the pedestal and I love them so much and I adore them, that's when I back off. I just don't dive in. But I do crave to get into that deep connection, but I would pull myself as hard as possible. Like I wouldn't go ahead.
Got it.
Yeah.
So what does that look like when you're doing that? Like, what is your flavor of backing off, pulling away as hard as you can? In my head, I have this image of like, they're like, hi, I'm Ron. You're like, no, and then run away from them. And they're like, that was weird. She's one of my tribe.
I have performance pressure, I guess. Like I want to be so good. Like, I just want to be perfect in their eyes. And so I feel that I'm not good enough to be even approaching them. I feel like they are way better than me. In terms of if we look at the parameters which are set by the world for success, like if I talk about the corporate world, okay, they're at a particular level, doing pretty well in their work, having a lot of experience. They come from Ivy League, colleges, institutes. And I feel That's my flavor. So I feel I'm not worthy of even maybe trying to build a connection with them.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, it's a challenge, right? Because then I imagine it sounds kind of like when they're really inspiring. That's not your word. I want to check. Is that kind of like, wow, this person's up to stuff. They're doing amazing things. They're pretty inspiring. Then you're kind of like, oh, I can't get up there with them, which I imagine would be a challenge because part of who you want to work with are people that really inspire you.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So how does this go? Do you like show up and you're like, I don't know this person from anyone else. You introduce, you talk to them, and then they start to share about who they are. And they're like, like what actually happens as you get this information about them?
I try to please them. I don't lead them. I sort of, I become very good friends with them. Like, so if I'm having a conversation with them, I would have a conversation and they wouldn't even know that I'm having this. I'm assuming that they wouldn't have it because I will mask it in a way that they will not even feel that. But then I wouldn't lead them to their possibilities because I'm scared to lead them there. So in a way, I am not doing any impact in their lives. It's just that I am just being with them and being their friends. That's all. So, yeah.
And let me check in because initially I think we were talking about like creating more connection, but I realized we don't have that actually clear. So like we're talking about these people. What is it that you like want to create with them?
I would coach them.
Got it.
Yeah. Because I see a lot of possibilities in them. And there's a part of me which says that I can lead them to their highest self. But there is an equally strong part which resists and fears spoiling the connection.
Right. Yeah. And like the first part, you've read The Prosperous Coach, I'm sure, which is a great, like, one of the things I love about that book is how clear it sort of breaks down. Like, these are the parts to creating a client. First step is we have to connect with someone. Coaching is ultimately all like a very vulnerable process. And it's hard for us to be vulnerable to someone we have no connection with.
Yeah.
So it sounds like ultimately what you'd like is to be in conversations where you can coach people, lead them, as you put it. But what's getting in the way of that is like the connection. You just sort of stop being in connection with them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. And you said well, help me understand. I think I got a bit of a sense, but like, how is it that you're blocking the connection? What are you putting in the way of that connection?
I'm not showing up. I'm not standing in my power. I am like more at the receiving end. Okay, this is what they're giving, and I'm just taking, like giving them the space, everything. But I have to lead them somewhere, right? I have to stand tall and then lead them where they want to go. So I'm not standing to my own power.
Tell me about that last part. You have to lead them somewhere. You have to stand tall and lead them somewhere.
I think I'm getting what you're saying. I always
don't know
have
what
this
I'm saying.
thing.
So tell me what you're getting.
Yeah, what I'm getting is I always have this tendency that I can see beyond. I mean, I feel that I can see a little beyond. So what I do is if I take them there, it's going to be great for them, right? So I want to take them there, but I know that they're not ready to go there. So I have this conflict. Like, if I take them there and they might resist, and then it's going to get messier. So what I'm going to do is I'll just hold back and just be with them, because till the time they say that I want to go there. I mean, yeah, so that's how it is. I don't know if I can make it clear for you.
Well, I have a reflection for you about this. which is I notice it sounds like all of this is it's about one of two things. It's about you not being worthy, or it's about what you need to tell them or be able to share with them or like lead them to.
Lead them to, I guess. Like, okay, I think I'm getting clear a little bit. I get irritated when they're not ready to go, when I sense that they are stuck here. So, okay,
Can I pause you?
Yeah.
Because I think I just offered a reflection and you heard it like I was asking you a question, or because I noticed my intention of the reflection is to give you a bit of altitude, and then it sounds like you're back down in the weeds. So let me give it to you again. What I notice is that the game you seem to be playing with your clients is either you're in an internal conversation, and then I'm going to guess that happens in the conversation with them where you're like, I'm not worthy. So you're being nice or polite or whatever. Or you're in this conversation that's like, they're not moving forward. They're like, I need to lead them. There's a way I need to be showing up, et cetera, et cetera. That's how it sounds over here. Would that be a fair reflection before we go anywhere else?
Yeah, it would be. Yes.
Good. We're not missing like, oh, there's secret option number 3. Okay, great. So then my question for you, rather than like get into that thing, if we just imagine that we draw a box around that, we're like, great, here's how Priyanka is showing up from her stories, her beliefs, all that stuff. What does this have to do with connection?
I believe that if I stand in my power, I might intimidate them and they might shut off, and I might not be able to create the connection.
Let me ask you a different question. Great answer. Would you say that this box, so it's kind of like you've got a box and you're running from one corner to the other. On the one corner is like, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I can't help them, whatever. And then the other corner is like, I need to lead them somewhere powerfully. I need to stand in my power so I can lead them. They're kind of the same. Can you see they're like different configurations of the same thing?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Neither of those to me sound like connection.
Okay.
I'm not right about that. I know this.
I'm reflecting.
I'm like, neither of those two things really feel like connection with someone.
Yeah.
How do is that how it feels to you? Or does it feel like, yeah, I need to stand in my power, and boy, do I ever feel connected with this person in front of me now that I'm thinking along those lines? And
after you have said, I've realized it's more of my agenda, like, worthy, that, okay, I want to show that this is who I am, and then lead them somewhere. So it's more of my agenda, which I'm working on, and there's no space for connection at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what tends to happen from this game? Thanks for getting that part. Like, thanks for sharing that.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
So we've got this game where you're like, I want to connect with these sort of people. You get into a situation where you might be able to connect with them. And then this box shows up where it's like, either you're unworthy and you're sort of feeling unworthy, or you're trying to overcome your unworthiness and stand in your power and da, 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 da. I wasn't saying your last name a bunch there. That's like ...
It's leading to nowhere. I mean, we are playing like base ace ping pong, right? I'll throw at them, they'll throw at me. And there is no vulnerability, there's no authenticity. It's just like, okay, two powers are just showing, one subtly, the other one maybe overtly. And it's a power game which is being played. That's what, I think that's what we are doing. That's what at least I'm doing. Yeah.
Got it. So in with these people, you're
Mhm.
bottom, they're top. Is that right?
Yeah.
Are there
Yeah.
places in your life where it's reversed, like where you're top and other people are bottom?
I don't see anybody else bottom than me, but I always see people of high league, like having pedigree and all of that as little higher. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
Do you
mean,
have a
that's
degree?
what, yeah, I do.
Yeah, just one?
I have certifications and masters and yeah.
Okay,
But
got it.
I don't believe that. But the corporate world does. That's how I believe. That's how I
Don't
think.
believe what?
Corporate world thinks that if you have these Ivy League and all of that, you are more capable, and
Mm-hmm.
if you don't, then you're not. So, yeah.
Right. Okay, so I'd like to challenge you on that one. What I'm actually hearing is you don't want to believe that, but you actually
Mm,
kind of do believe that based on what's happening with these people. Like when they show up, you're like, ooh, Ivy League,
yeah.
better degree,
Mm,
unworthy, all of that sort of stuff.
yeah.
And then not surprisingly, what happens is instead of simply connecting with someone, you get into a game of like, I'm unworthy. So there's one of two things I can do. I can like show up powerfully. I can step over top and on top of that unworthiness, or I can just play the game of being unworthy.
Yeah. I am just getting a maybe insight or thought right away, wherein I think I have anger for not being in the Ivy League. I feel
Yeah.
that. So, okay, there's a part of me which says that even if you're not a part of Ivy League, you can be bright, brilliant, intelligent, right? So I think that part shows up when I always connect with them. I show that side of me that, okay, you guys may not be better. There are better people without these degrees. And so I think the defense comes into the picture. Yeah.
Right. Like, how dare you think you're better than me while I make you better than me? Fuck you for thinking you're better than me while I encourage you to feel that way because of who I'm being.
Yes.
Right. It's kind of a
Absolutely.
fun
Yeah.
game. It's like what my dog will do is he'll grab a ball and then throw it in the air and catch it to himself. It's kind of like you're doing that a little bit. And then getting mad at this game. Stupid ball.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how it looked like. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, great. So before we look any further, do you see how you're kind of creating this a little bit?
Yeah. It's my belief, actually, because of which I'm creating this. Yeah. And I'm missing out on actually connecting with them from that space of just being open, right? And I do
Yeah.
have their best interest in mind, but also there's a rebel, like, okay, who would rebel and then say that, don't think you guys are all good enough. There are better people out there in the world as well. So, yeah.
Right. So just want to flag that that's your story. That's the part where you're throwing the ball up and catching it and then getting mad at the ball.
Yeah.
So because it's like you have a story that people from Ivy League, I'm not saying that they don't also share your story, right? There's some people that are playing the same, they're your people, so they're going to have a similar story, right? How do you win this game?
That's something. How do I win this game? Do I even win? Do I want to win this game?
That's a different question, and like that's a
Yeah.
few steps ahead, but I'm sort of like, let's get inside this box and then just look around. This is the boxes now around my head, and look around it and like, oh, given the rules that we've created for this game, how do you what's the best way to play it? How do you try to win this game?
Investigate my belief around this and
No, you're being way too smart. You're like, but I'm out of the box. How do I free myself from the box? Let's give that up for a sec, just for a sec. You're stuck in this box. You're not getting out now. So investigating your beliefs, the beliefs, they're true. There's nothing to investigate. How would you win this game? Ivy League better, more entitled?
No, I think just seeing them as human beings, right? Devoid of their identities and what they've created. If I have to build connection, then I think
No,
no.
you're doing
Okay.
great. You're doing great. But like you're still, you're trying to escape your box.
Mm-hmm.
So like you've got a box that says there is a way to determine someone's level of worthiness, and it is a
Mm-hmm.
function of a number of things, one of which is like their education. That's kind of where we're looking right now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and you cannot, I'm just letting you know the rules of the game of the box you're telling us that you've created. So
Mm-hmm.
one, there's like worthiness is a gradient.
Mm-hmm.
Two, part of what determines where you are on that gradient is your level of education.
Mm-hmm.
Three, you can talk to people that you are worthy, you are roughly on the same level of worthiness
Mm-hmm.
with.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So the what I'm hearing, like one of the ways to win that game is get a bunch of accreditations so that you're now at the same level of worthiness. Now you can talk to them. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe have a yeah. Bang on. In fact, I thought, why not do a certification from Harvard, coaching certification from Harvard, and then
Yeah.
I'll be like, be able to play with them. And yeah,
Love it.
absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah,
What's one more way that you can play this game? Now that we're clear on like the rules inside of this box,
yeah.
what's another way that you can end up playing that game?
Dimming my lights. I mean, not standing up to putting them in the pedestal and then lowering myself and not reaching out to them and also be angry at them for what they are
Yeah.
doing it. Yeah.
How dare
Yeah.
you play this game that I'm also playing
Yes.
myself? Oh, caught the
Yeah.
ball.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that's another way to play the game, right? It's like, oh, those people are up there and I'm down here. And so I guess I
Mhm.
stay down here. I won't reach out. I'm not going to, that's against the rules of this game that we've currently got drawn.
Yeah. Anyways,
Awesome.
I'm going to be rejected. So what's the point? Let me stay here. It's like
Yeah,
this. Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first, I'm going to give you a practice. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Maria, please continue commenting. Super appreciate what you're putting in this space. I don't know if you can see it, Priyanka, but Maria is sharing like some of the questions she would ask, which is really helpful. And
Mm-hmm.
we'll come to some of those and also share like why I would have gone in a different direction, not because your questions are wrong, but please continue to comment. Very much appreciate you. So let's create first some practices just around this awareness that you're creating.
Mm-hmm.
Let me first check. What is the awareness, if any, that you're creating here?
I'm underplaying here in this box. I'm not looking at my power, my gifts. I'm just in awe of my client, the prospects, not my clients, the prospects. And as a result of which I'm creating inaction. I'm not taking any actions. And I'm just sitting like a victim, more like a victim. Yeah, that okay. These are the bunch of people and this is happening to me. And yeah.
Great. A couple of things I want to offer you. Like one, we're all a victim to the box we've put ourselves in.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I mean by that is like, we're kind of stuck playing the best version of the game that we're in any given moment. So like you're actually being really empowered given your box. You're like, okay, I could go and do a certification from Harvard. Like given that that's the rules for how this goes.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things Maria said is stand in your own greatness. But the trouble with that is inside of this box, what's the best way to stand inside your own greatness? It's like, go and
Yeah.
I'm great. I'm brilliant. I will go and get a certification. Then I can come back and like, look at me. I'm great. Right. So like,
But yeah.
go ahead, please share.
No, sorry. No, but still I would feel unworthy even if I get the Howard certificate, I can rest assured I will not feel worthy. Because
Yes.
that's happened to me. So I am an ACC from ICF. Like I did it because I thought this is, again, I'm now opting for PCC, but I'm 100% sure, even if I get that, it will leave me with a feeling of not being enough to get to that level.
Yes, beautifully caught. So one part of, I'm going to speak sort of to you, but to everyone, like part of what we're doing is getting clear on like, what's the game? What are the rules of the game Priyanka's playing? And how is connection allowed inside the rules of that game? And how is it disallowed? And what a lot of coaches will do is they won't sort of look at this because they haven't probably done it themselves, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't really matter. Instead, they're just like, great, you want to connect more with people. How do we make that happen? Okay, you need to call people. Okay, great. Let's have you call people. But of course, if we just made you get on the phone and call these people, what would predictably happen given the rules of this game?
I would connect with them, but I would not invite them to a coaching conversation. I'll just be friends, because I love that connection with them. I love talking to them. I love their brilliance. And I enjoy that insightful conversation with them. So what I'm going to do is I'll never invite them to a coaching conversation. And even if, let's say I invite, I'm not going to propose them because I don't feel great enough to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And if we forced you to propose inside of these rules, what would happen there?
I would lower the fees maybe, or I don't know. I mean, I would be such a needy person that, okay, I just want this person. He has just come in and then, I would do whatever. So I would be of disservice to them basically. Yeah, I totally get it.
Excellent. So this is the coach and leader of mine, Jody Jan Larson, used to say that we'd call this a context. The game we're playing, it is determinative. So we can force Priyanka to do any number of things. And you are a brave, courageous woman. You will do them. And still you will get the results that are allowed within this game. What we want to support Priyanka to do is to drop the game. Because if this wasn't there, everything would become possible, right?
Yeah.
So much, you wouldn't even need, you could stop going for like certifications. You could stop worrying about this. So that's what we want to take on. So I say as my agenda.
Yeah.
Are you clear? I want to check in. Are you clear that like if we got rid of this story, this set of rules by which you're playing, that there would be something possible that is not currently?
Absolutely. Because the moment I realize, let's say if I am not in a space where, okay, this is my prospect and I have to convert him, and I just talk with that person normally, there's a beautiful conversation happening. There's like connection which is being created. But then in my mind, what gets triggered is, oh no, I have to make a difference in his life. I have to make an impact in the world. So what I do is I get into that headspace and I create that story for myself and nothing gets created. So I totally get it, dropping the box.
Yes. Awesome. I'm going to address one question that Maria is asking. Maria, is it Maria or Maria? I'm just going to say it the way I want to say it. Maria, where she's saying, was this experience during school years? And the reason I'm not really looking to the past with Priyanka is I'm just going to trust she came by this honestly. So somewhere along the line, you, Priyanka, were trained in this by your parents, the world around you, teachers, guardians. You noticed who got respect. You noticed who didn't. And this tends to be the case with everyone. Like we came by our stuff honestly. It's not something that we just decided one day to be like, you know what? Wouldn't it be funny if I made myself unworthy around people from Harvard? It's been put together and then built on top of, and then put together and then built on top of over many years. So that's why I'm not really looking so much into like the past for Priyanka. I'm just trusting she came by this for good reasons. And all that we really need to care about, because we're coaching and not doing therapy, is how do we move her forward from here towards what she wants, which I'm hearing is connection. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a couple things I know about the game, the context. The first is that it's like the water we swim in. So it's constantly being created in our lives, and it's not always present for us. Do you know what I mean by that?
So I'm not present to my story. You mean to say that?
You can see it right now because we're talking about it, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
making the assertion that like you're going out and running this, some flavor of this all the time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
101%. Yeah. Yeah.
Great. So the first thing is I'm going to give you some practices designed around noticing this more. Basically, like a fish is like, hey, I did it. I'm not swimming in water anymore. And it's like, no, you're still in water. And the fish is like, fuck. Well, how do I find that out? Start noticing water. That's the first step. So the first thing I'm going to say, Priyanka, is notice, just get sick and tired almost, like notice it so much you're bored of this, of yourself making you unworthy of other people.
Okay.
And do I see you writing this down?
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the second part. Do you remember I asked, like, do you do the other version of this where you're worthy and other people are unworthy?
I said I don't. Yeah.
It sounds like you're present to something now that you weren't then.
Yeah.
What is that?
Maybe I'm not again seeing another story. So I'm laughing because maybe there's a story which I'm not seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a hunch. The hunch is based on this. Whenever we have a box that we're playing in the world, usually we notice it in kind of like one direction. So the direction you're most present to, Priyanka, is the people I want to talk to are more worthy than I am, and I am unworthy than them. But life is this amazing infinite continuum. And so if you're playing that game with people up here, I'm going to assert that there's another version of that game you're playing that's the other direction, where you're the one that's worthy and people down here are unworthy. And this one, I'm guessing, will probably feel a little less comfortable for you to notice because you've got some resentment about those fuckers that have degrees from Harvard. They are fuckers. We can agree on that. So
they're going to kill me.
They'll never see this video. So would it serve you? Would it create something, do you think, for you to take a look from the other end of this, to notice where you're playing this version of the game backwards?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
I'll be present to that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beauty. Maria, Heather, Chrissy, I just want to call you guys out and say thank you so much. What you're providing is really, I want you to know you're sourcing both Priyanka and I in what you're sharing. So thank you very much, the three of you. You guys are awesome. So let's talk about what you want. So first we've got you noticing this and just seeing that. And what I hear you want is connection.
Yeah.
Imagine this wasn't there. So there's no worthiness whatsoever. You're already worthy, or it's just not even really a thing. And you're talking to these people. What do you imagine connection looks like?
Authentic, very authentic. Wherein they would share, and I would also share my fears and the struggles and challenges, because how it looks like is, oh, I'm so perfect that I don't have any imperfections. And one has to be in that space, and it's so difficult to be in that space. Being perfect always, and showing that I'm perfect. But then if it is not there, of course, there would be vulnerability, authenticity, and then they would be standing in their own power, truly. Be human, basically. Yeah. Yeah, being human. Yeah.
That sounds like way less effort. That feels really good on you.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love about that is that sounds impossible inside this game. Being authentic, sharing your struggles, your challenges, or you do it from a place of where you're unworthy, please save me, worthy Harvard graduate, or we're picking on Harvard, but like Ivy League, whoever, it doesn't really matter. from this game, when you feel scared, what is there to do?
I do nothing. I withdraw, actually. I mean, from that space, I withdraw. And I would appear dumb. Or maybe the other side of it, like over brilliance.
Nice. Super brilliant.
Yeah, super brilliant. Yes.
Totally can't relate to that. Don't know anything about that one.
Yeah.
Love it. And from connection, like if your only commitment is to increase connection, what is there to do when you notice that show up?
I have to be aware of that, like whenever I'm doing that. So I have a hunch also that the way I'm feeling this way, the other side would also feel the same way. So they would also hold back and not open up. And as you know, like in coaching, the main thing is trust. That's the foundation which is missing. So I think from that space, the big thing, trust is missing and nothing is getting created.
And so what is there to do when you notice? Well, actually, let's take a step back. So what do you see there? There's kind of like, you can play the game of unworthy, worthy. How do I be more worthy? How do I be less unworthy, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And then there's this entirely new game that has nothing to do with that stuff. Like, and that game we could call the game of connection, or we could call it the game of creating trust.
Yeah.
Or we could come up with a number of other ways for you to aim towards that are entirely outside of this game. Mm-hmm. What is the most powerful, like, what's the breakthrough you're up to create here outside of this? Is it connection? Is it trust? Is it something else?
So what I realize is in this box, you're operating majorly from fear. Even they are also operating from fear, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're in this constant need to present in a particular way, perform in a particular way, meet deadlines in a particular way. I mean, that's how. So it's like you're operating from fear-based. Everything is fear-sourced. But out of that, it is absolutely opposite of that, which is maybe love, authenticity. Like, okay, they can create an impact by being authentic. Some sort of expression, authentic expression of themselves, and then create an impact out of that box. Yeah.
Okay. So great answer. I love where you're looking. And really what we're trying to, ultimately where we are in this conversation is there's the rules of the game that aren't really working. You can get so far, you could create clients from this place, but it requires like more and more certifications. And then you're going to create clients, like when you're finally worthy, you're kind of holding them as unworthy. So then you're never, you have like this hair width fraction of like, these are the right clients finally. And then, oh crap, I got too certified. They suck. They'll never really get to be truly satisfied. And so what we're sort of creating together here is the breakthrough that you want to gain access to, the way of being that would be entirely outside of this. And that's entirely for you. Like, what's the breakthrough in terms of who you would get to be around these people and around the rest of the world outside of this game? And so I heard at the start, you were talking about connection. Then you mentioned trust, and now it sounds like love or authenticity. So which of those ways of being would kind of source all of the others?
Being in one's essence, basically. The real self. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I'm stuck a little bit here.
You're doing fine. It might be that I'm making it seem more complicated. So it's really like, whenever I talk about a breakthrough, I'm really talking about access to a way of being that whatever current game exists in your life makes impossible. And so one of the things I'm hearing is like connection's kind of impossible because of this setup. So it could be like, all right, Priyanka is going to go and take on creating a breakthrough in connection with these people. Now, the rules of this game are going to be like, don't do it. You're scared. That means you're unworthy. Hide your fear or withdraw. What would it look like if you were like, my commitment is to create connection. I am going to be connection with this person, no matter what shows up. And what shows up is fear. What might you do from that place in service of being connection?
From the space of fear, you mean to say?
No. Well, you have fear. You're like, I'm here. I'm talking to this person. My commitment is to create connection. Oh crap. There's fear showing up right now in this moment. What would there be for you to do?
Okay. Get present to the fear. That, okay, they're showing up and fear is a part of us. It's like not something that I'll do away with, but just being aware that this is how I'm showing up, and yet take the action, because yet connect with them, because that's when I'll be able to really connect. I mean, if I don't take the action because of the fear, I'll be just holding myself back. Connecting with them.
And how do you do that? In that
reaching
moment?
Out. Okay, this is a little edgy, but do I tell them that I'm feeling this way? Do I share that this is showing up? I don't know.
Would that create more connection in the moment, or would that create less?
I am sensing a resistance in me to even say that, but that would create more connection, I believe, because they would love that. Yeah.
Or they wouldn't.
Or they wouldn't. And I am okay with that, right?
Right. Because what we can put our attention on is your commitment to being a certain way. The rest of the world's going to have its reaction. A lot of people have the same story about fear that you do. And while you're practicing something new, at first, they're going to be like, what the fuck's this? And then if you haven't, as you're practicing, their what the fuck is this will become your like, what the fuck am I doing? This is crazy. But as you practice being with it and can really just like, yeah, I'm scared. You're intimidating. Like, you are really smart. I notice I feel dumb in this moment. If you can be okay with that, then that's going to hold the space, the clearing for them to be okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. This is something new for me. Yes. Yeah. But I totally get it that, you're intimidating me. Yes. That would, and they have the liberty to think the way they want to. I mean, again, I don't have to control the way they will think. It's like them to do it. Yeah. Totally get it.
So if we go back, do you get like now creating a breakthrough and being connection with them is totally outside of this game. You don't have to fix being unworthy from there, right? Yeah. Oh, I feel unworthy. I connect. I share that. That's what's there for me now. Now you get more of me than was there before. Scary, because this game is there to protect you from some fear.
Yeah.
But breakthrough available?
Yeah. I mean, this is very scary because I am hiding from not being unworthy or the other side of it. And if I be vulnerable and say that this is what I'm feeling at this moment, it is exactly the opposite which I'm doing.
Yes.
So I'm just doing the opposite of that. But there's a release of energy right now. The moment you said, okay, I am feeling this way, and there's a release. So I think it works. Yeah.
So I have two questions for you. We're going to look at what this might open up so you can be present to what's possible rather than just what you'd have to give up or what would be scary. But before we do, I want you to check, like, these are the 4 words you've said: connection, authenticity, trust, love. So given that we're kind of distinguishing, like, what's the breakthrough for Priyanka to practice, the way of being to step into that's entirely outside of this box, which of those 4 words feels most powerful for you to practice, to step into?
Trust.
Trust. Okay, great. And would that include like when you notice, oh my God, I feel intimidated or scared or whatever? Is trust sort of like if you were practicing trust, you might share that? That would be something you would allow?
So for me, the trust is just trust. It doesn't have to have a form. And sharing this with them probably would build more trust with them. And they would be able to see me and I would be able to see them as well. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. When we create a way of being as the thing to practice, there is no being permeates everything. So there's no one way, one doing that we could point to. Mm-hmm. The game for you to be in playing is, so first of all, this is well known. Like this is familiar to you. So you're going to feel a pull back towards this game.
Yeah.
And your practice is to practice, wait, I know that game. This is why we're having you notice it everywhere. So you can start to be like, oh my God, that game again. Look at that. I just put myself right into the fish tank. All right. If I was to practice being trust right now, if I was to practice creating a deeper level of trust, what would I do in this moment? Notwithstanding what I know to do over here. Okay, I'm going to share this. That's going to increase trust. I'm going to share this with this person. So it's a place for you to practice being and coming from that's entirely outside of the rules of this game. That's then going to open up everything else. Does this make sense? What's going on over there?
What I was thinking is, if I just tell them that, oh, I am in awe of your brilliance, and that's like a little scary for me, and I don't know where it goes. Simple. So I am also acknowledging their brilliance, which I really love about them. I really love because of the brilliance, the deep thinking that they bring in, and sharing it with them, and also saying that it's a little scary for me because now sort of, I am feeling a little edgy. I think that's all. If I do it, probably, yeah.
Excuse me. If there was no fear, we wouldn't need any trust, right?
Yeah.
That's what we all want. Oh, I want to trust. Just I want to know it's going to be fine. Well, that's not trust. I want to trust, provided no one ever betrays me or lets me down or hurts me. Well, but that isn't what trust is. So Priyanka, imagine these people. We're just going to look a little bit at what might become possible. And imagine that everywhere they go in life, they're inadvertently making other people feel smaller and stupid. What would be the gift in someone being willing to just say, wow, without making them wrong for it, just to be like, wow, I feel really I feel dumb listening to you speak. What would the gift in that be?
They would be aware of what subtly they're creating and missing out the connection. So in a way, they're also missing out a connection with people who are willing to, who have their best interest in mind, probably. And so that would be a gift for them as well.
Yeah. Well, I noticed you kind of qualified it, like they're missing out on connection with, and then you added some stuff. It sounds like this would just open up a little more connection in their lives.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I hear them say that they are very lonely at the top. I hear them say that. And that's one of the challenges, which as a friend, they share it with me. It's lonely. And I don't trust anyone at that level because I don't know who to trust. Yeah. So that's a big gift. Yes.
What would be the gift for you if you were in conversation with someone and they just were willing to vulnerably be like, wow, I just feel kind of in awe of your brilliance and a little dumb in this moment?
Connection again for me.
That felt tender for you there.
Yeah. Because somewhere there was this worthiness attached to that is also like, I felt, oh, wow, I can make a difference. Like, so.
Right. Oop, oh, crap. I'm in this box again.
Yeah. I noticed that, like, because, yes.
Yeah. Nice catch. So would you be up to practice being trust, creating trust, and coming from trust, even and especially when you notice that this game has shown up?
Yeah, I will.
Cool. And would you be willing to come back in a week's time and share in the comments here, like, hey, this is what showed up for me. This is what I saw. This is what I noticed.
Absolutely. As you know, I have lined up conversations. So yes,
Nice.
I will practice being in trust. And for sure, after 1 week, I'll come and post whatever it is like.
Yeah. Awesome. A friend of mine, I used to train coaches with her actually, was sharing this story with this a long time ago. She was meeting with someone who was super brilliant and just like talking. She was like, I don't know what the hell this guy's talking. And at first she was really concerned. She's like, oh my God, I feel so stupid. And then she interrupted him. She said, hey, I have no idea what you're talking about. I can't keep up with you. So I'm going to stop trying. And she just like leaned back and put her feet on the table. And like, that was really scary for her because she was like, I got to run after this guy. And of course, that's what he's creating with everyone in his life. And her being willing to do that created a huge insight for him where he was like, oh my God, that's what's happening. My wife tries to keep up with me. My kids are trying to keep up with me. No one can keep up with me. I feel like I'm always, oh my goodness. So it's such a gift for you to be willing to share this with people, and don't share it from that place. Don't share it for them, share it for you, because you're committed to an experience of trust rather than worthy.
Yeah, I like that. The last part, not for them, but for me. Yes. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. I want to wind down there, but first I'd love to acknowledge you. Is there anything that you see that is kind of burning for you where you're like, oh, I really want to take this practice on too this week, or anything that feels left for you?
No, I think I'm complete for today. Yeah.
Nice. So Priyanka, I really want to acknowledge your courage. To me, you are just one of the most courageous. I want to acknowledge your radiance and like your brilliance and all of those parts too. Ironically, I'm less called to acknowledge those because they are so obvious to me. And I get that that's not how they occur for you, especially around these jerkwads we've been talking about. But your radiance and your brilliance are there in spades, and your courage, you're willing to create intimacy and trust with people, even in the face that they may be like, well, that's dumb. They'll do all those things that people do when we give them our vulnerability. Like, oh, well, just don't feel that way. Ugh. Don't do that. Don't fix me. I'm trying to hold the space for us to be vulnerable together. Thanks for the courage. Thanks for feeling all of the fear and then being willing to step into it. And I also really want to acknowledge your brilliance in like, one of the things I love about you is that I point to something and you're already like 3 steps ahead, which is a sign of how brilliant you are. I'm like, what's the rules of this game? You're like, well, I think I just need to see it for what it is. No. Be stupid with me over here. And then 2, I really acknowledge you for the trust. Thanks for being willing to trust me in this process and like, okay, rather than insist on what I see to do, I'm going to set that aside and trust Adam and where he's sort of holding the space for us to go. And that's, at least for me, that is not something that is easy to come by. And so I really want to acknowledge you for the courage that requires. And what Matt said in the comments as we were doing this was, he said, I love that Priyanka is practicing her breakthrough right now. Sharing this is scary. So thanks for being in the work with us as we're going through the work. We're distinguishing this and you're practicing it. Amazing work.
Thank you. Can I say something?
Of course you can. Yeah. Now we get to debrief.
Yeah. No, I would like to thank you so much, Adam. I mean, I find you to be so inspiring, like the kind of work that you do. That's the reason from all the way from India, I flew to Victoria to be with you and Bay and learn. And it's worth it. I mean, I have no words. And the Forge thing that we are doing right now, And you wouldn't, I have made a list of coaches that I would love to be coached by, and you were one of them. And I'm so glad that, it's like you reached out to me. See, I get inspired by you, but I never connected. Like I'd never reached out like, okay, but that's the thing I was not doing. And you helped me break it. And I'm so glad that you did it. And because of which today I'm here and I'm learning so many things. So really grateful for everything. You are amazing, and Bay is also amazing. I have no words. So thanks. Yeah.
Wow. Thanks.
Very much.
That felt really good. Do more of that. Keep acknowledging people. You're really good at it.
And I really mean it. Yeah.
I got that. Yeah. That's part of the gift, is that when you do it, you really mean it.
Yeah.
Let's look at some of the questions that we have here, and just, we'll talk about it together. So let's see. I'm going to start with Julie, who said, I don't even know how I got on this feed, but I'm amazed at how I can personally relate to this session. So Priyanka, that's a measure of you being willing to share your truth. In us being willing to share what's there for us, people can see themselves in us, and then our work becomes their work we don't have to do anything over there. We just have to do the stuff over here. So thanks for that. And Julie, thanks for sharing that and like letting us know. I find coaching can be a lonely profession sometimes, because doing a lot of work over here and then I'm all the way over there with my client. And it's just nice to know that people are in this with us. Anything you want to say to that, Priyanka?
No, I really thank Julie for that, for seeing that. And I'm so glad that there's a connection, and she can relate to what I have to offer. So yeah, really grateful for that. Yeah.
Maria says, feeling intellectual fraudulence and severe self-doubt applies to the imposter syndrome. Any thoughts for you on that concept of imposter syndrome?
Yeah, I mean, I find it so hard to acknowledge myself. When you are acknowledging me right now, I was like, am I? So there's this question. Yeah, imposter syndrome. I mean, I told you, right? If I get a Harvard certified also, I will not be okay with it. I'll go for the next level. And yes, totally. Yeah.
I love that. Very relatable too. Me too, by the way. Like there's multiple degrees hanging on my wall here. There's like, that's the game I was playing too. So I want to be clear. I can see this because it's me too. And with the imposter syndrome, what I've noticed is the way we tend to define it is, I feel like a fraud. I'm not good enough, that fear. And then people are like, there's the imposter syndrome. I think that's missing something. I say that what the imposter syndrome is, I feel like a fraud. I'm afraid. I have doubt. And here is the things that I'm doing to sort of deal with that, such as hiding that fact, not sharing that truth, trying to get a bunch of degrees to blah, 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 blah. And if we draw a box around all of that, then we can start to see like, oh, all of the hiding is what contributes to feeling like an imposter. If you feel like a fraud and then say, I feel like a fraud, you're no longer an imposter. Scary, but like, wow, there's some real freedom in that. So thanks for being up to practice that, because what you're feeling, your people are feeling. So you're actually, by being willing to step into this boldly and create this clearing, it then gives them permission to step into it.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah. I totally get it. Yeah. we have to be willing to be heartbroken.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's one practice. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for getting that. Chrissy says, I'm curious to hear what words Priyanka said that got my consciousness to move her forward in the direction, as there was many ways this could have went. So I think Chrissy's really asking, like, why did you go this direction, Adam? So actually, so first, Priyanka, was there sort of a point where you were like, we should go here, and we're going here? Or like, was there any of that there for you?
No, not really, because I was just being there and I didn't focus on where I'm being led or not. I was just being there. So I have no idea. No.
Nice. Thanks for letting go of how it should go.
Yeah.
So Chrissy, let me just look at my notes, because I do have an answer. Well, it was kind of neat, because oftentimes people bring the fix as what they want support with. So they're like, I always feel unworthy. Help me feel more worthy. And then you're like, oh, I'm pretty sure that's not the place that's going to set this person's free. That's just going to give them an experience of life where they get to not feel unworthy, not where they get to feel free or get to feel worthy, an experience of life where they get to, and this is all in one box, not feel unworthy, which is drastically different. Priyanka brought like the actual breakthrough right at the start, right? You kind of began like, oh, I want more connection. And then, so I was curious, usually whenever we want something, the first place I'm curious about is how we're blocking it. Because never in my life have I seen a baby who's like, man, I wish I could connect better. They don't, they just connect. And then we train them, that's wrong what you're doing. So I started to get curious, okay, what are you doing that's getting in the way of that? What is Priyanka's strategies? And then as she started to describe this worthiness thing, I got curious, like, okay, what is the box? What is the context? And that's really almost always, if you wanted a recurring theme through my coaching, it's what is the overall belief, actions taken from the belief, and then the world around us that those actions create that has things going the way it's going. And that's what we would call a context, or the fish tank that your head is sort of floating in, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I think that's a good answer for that question. Let's see what else we have here. We had a few others. I love Heather. Thanks for this, Heather. Heather said, what we admire in others is in us as well. So really we project ourselves constantly outwards. We put everything that is truly great about ourselves onto other people, and then envy or are jealous of them for it. And then we also put everything we judge about ourselves onto those entitled people, right? And that's the part that's hard for us to take a look at and really confront and face.
Yeah.
And Maria asked early on, do you find it difficult to own yourself in the same thing you see in others? So kind of more of this. Do you find it, and I guess the question would be like, do you find it difficult to own your own, do you find it difficult to own that entitlement in yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Maria asks one question which is related to the past, right? So if I can answer that, I don't know,
Yeah.
should I?
Please.
Yes. I was compared a lot when I was a child. And so there was a benchmark always, be that. So yeah, that had an impact probably. But yes, but again, that was part of my journey, and that's because of that I am who I am today. So yeah. I just wanted to answer that because she asked it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember like who was it? Was it mom, dad, a grandparent? Like who was the main person you kind of remember? Like, oh, they really trained me in this.
Should I say the name?
You can if you're comfortable. You don't have to. It's okay.
With all good intent, my mom.
Yeah. I got this from, I'm just trying to think. I think I got it from like really both of my parents, because they both came from the thing is, none of this is malicious. That's where we get messed up. Like our parents, they got the same training from their parents and from their parents and from their parents. And so my parents grew up, my dad was born right at the end of World War II. My mom grew up on a farm in rural Canada. That's two upbringings that is very modest. And the lesson they both were raised in was like, you better work hard. Mm-hmm. And then even when you're working hard, it's like, by the way, you better work hard. And so what we learned from that is, oh, I'm not working hard enough. I'm never working hard enough. I'm never enough. And so they didn't do that because they're dicks. They did that because they wanted me to have a good work ethic. Absolutely. And what I think is amazing, and what I love about you taking this on, Priyanka, is when we take this stuff on and create the breakthrough, we're healing all of that from our bloodline. Like that means that from you, your kids are going to learn something different. And that's God work. That's like as divine as it can be. And so to me, that's one of the most amazing things when we as coaches take on this work, is everyone else that we talk and touch get to have the benefit of that, but so too do our children. And like the impact ripples out into the future. And that's amazing. That's so cool. Yeah. Okay, I think we're going to end there. So to everyone that tuned in, thank you guys so much. I truly cannot express my gratitude on behalf of me, and I'm just going to express gratitude on behalf of Priyanka regardless. It's so much more fun to have people like sharing what they see. And I want to be clear, actually, if any of you watching saw something different, that's cool too. There's no right way. This is just sort of what got co-created with Priyanka and I, and she could have been in a conversation with an equally masterful coach who was as brilliant and handsome as the one that she was in with. I'm having fun. But and it could have gone a completely different way, and that would have been perfect too. So no making yourself wrong, definitely no making me wrong. And we're not going to have a conversation next week, but tune in it's actually 3 weeks from now will be our next conversation, our next live session. So that'll be Halloween. And thank you so much, Priyanka, for being on this conversation with us.
Thank you for having me. It's entirely my pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.